Welcome back to College Conversations. I'm Dr. Fedor, and I help you navigate college. Please remember to hit subscribe and share this video with other students who might also need similar help. For more detailed help navigating college, please check out my course on Udemy, College 101, How College Works. I have a lot of students ask me questions about cheating, and we seem to have technology really influencing the nuances of cheating. So today I have Professor Daniel Ball here with me to talk about some of the ways that students may or may not realize that they're cheating.
Hi, Janice. It's great to be back here. It's a pleasure to be here again with you.
My first question is, what are some of the things that students do that they don't realize that could actually be considered cheating?
It's interesting, and there are a lot, and I think it's a lot as you indicated with this emergence of technology, which is something that is really for the good and for the bad entering our educational environment. I teach a lot of quantitative analysis classes, a lot of classes that involve math. So I'll say right off the bat, Excel files, sharing Excel files. That is one area that I know students oftentimes they'll maybe work together in teams, get together in a group and build an Excel file, but it might be one person building that Excel file. So you can kind of think back in the days when we might sit around a table in the library and work out calculations on paper. The difference is when one person is coding that Excel file, the students aren't learning that. And it is that learning process, that actual manual aspect of writing and coding the file. So there is a lot in that area that I see students that are, I guess I would say they don't know they're cheating,
Right.
and it might not be traditional cheating,
Yep.
but it's also not their own work. And so that's something that I was trying to encourage students to do is work together in teams where it's appropriate, but build your own files. Excel templates. It's easy to go to Google now, type in a certain kind of a problem, pull up a template. Building this all on your own is really what you should be doing. So I always say you have a lot of caution when you go off into the online world. Consult your professor often. Writing, a lot of online resources for writing, looking up ideas for a paper, doing copy and pasting, not putting the citations, not using your own words. It's your own thoughts that we want. So you can cite information, which is great, but you also want to be generating your own critical analysis, your own thoughts. That's really what we're looking for. So which enters a new area right now, which I would say is the AI generated papers. So
Yep.
This is something that I've really just learned about within, pretty recently. It's becoming problematic. And I've actually read an article where one person tried to justify it, saying, well, it wasn't against our academic integrity policy because I didn't ask another person. It was the computer that helped me.
So can you give me a couple ways that you personally, as a professor, can tell that a student is cheating?
It's usually pretty clear. One is the methodologies.
Right.
There are a lot of ways that we can solve the problems that we're working on. And oftentimes when I see methodologies that go outside of the approaches we used in the class, it's clear there was some other type of source used. And it might not be technically wrong. And I always encourage students, I'll tell them, look, there could be more than one way to do a break-even analysis.
Right.
But I want to make sure that even if you have a way, learn the way I'm teaching you, you're at least adding another tool to your toolbox there. Written descriptions. Sometimes I'll see the written analysis of a work that's going into language that is very advanced beyond what we've been covering in the class. And that's usually a sign that maybe there could have been some outside help in there. And again, it might not have had an egregious intention, but it's still showing that there's something from the outside that has been used, which is very common in mathematics and mathematical terms. File information. One of the first things I do is I'll always download the files, whether it's a Word document, whether it's an Excel document. And I'll look to see who is the author, what were the dates. And sometimes you can see they're common. And if it's not your name, then there's definitely a problem. Or if it's erased out, oftentimes students might erase out or not have that information. And it could be a setting in the computer, and that's fine. I always say go back in, make sure your setting shows that when you generate this file on your computer, that author information is there. I'll sometimes use the term consistent inconsistencies. If more than one student goes off in a similar direction, which is not really consistent with what we've been teaching in the course, that's also it also raises a question. So you'll see language that's written almost the same, but the font has changed. So
yeah. Do you do anything to make it harder for your students to cheat?
I do. Over the years, I have developed. First of all, I change my exams and quizzes.
Right,
I try and change those over. I also build my own. I know
right.
that there are a lot of ways you can get samples. Even textbook authors, they'll
Yeah,
have them, which is a great resource. But on the other hand, they're also you can find those solutions online as well. So I'll try and make my own problems, multiple versions. Again, in quantitative analysis areas, we'll use different data sets. Little tiny tweaks to the problems that will make them unique to each student. Multiple choice can scramble the answers
yeah,
or and so.
yeah. So what is your punishment for cheating?
I do try and work with the students well. I try throughout the semester to be very approachable and really have them feel like I'm working on them with a team. I really want them to feel comfortable with me. I'd say that it sometimes depends on the infraction or maybe even the intent.
Right.
Usually there's some type of a point deduction. You could get a 0 for the assignment. I try and have a lot of low stakes assignments as well. So if something happens on one assignment, it's a learning process and they'll understand and correct it. Because as I said, I'm not sure it's oftentimes they're intending to do it, but they need to be taught, really what how they should really be appropriately approaching their academics. I've sometimes threatened, and I don't think I've ever done this, but sometimes I'll say, well, okay, if you want to turn this into a group assignment, then we'll take the points, whatever the point is, and we can split it. We can share them between the 2 or 3 of you or 4 of you, and that usually is a deterrence. Sometimes
Yeah.
they'll laugh at that, but it'll be they'll think it's kind of a funny idea, but then they're thinking, well, that could really happen. I don't think I want to start
Right,
at a 50. So
right,
um,
right.
and then we also, if we also have to report this too. So, and that is serious. We have to report it because it is an academic integrity violation. So we have a process that we have to go through the school and the university. So again, I try and work with them and
Yeah.
have them learn from this.
So how does it affect your relationship with your student? If you do catch them cheating, how does that affect your relationship with your student going forward?
It's really unique to each situation. But
Right,
I do, as I said, I do try and build the relationship with the students where I'm approachable
right,
and they feel comfortable coming to me if they do have an issue. I would say oftentimes because of that, if I do see there's that discrepancy or I see another name on a file, I won't accuse the student, but I might say like, how did this happen? Like, or
yeah,
what, can you explain maybe why you went down this path on the solution problem and kind of see what the answer is. And really, I would say most of the time the student's very honest. They might indicate, oh yeah, I had some help from here. Was
okay,
that okay? Or they might explain, or it might have been, yeah, what I was swamped. I had work. I had
right,
something else happening, it's on me. And so I see that really more than I don't, and I really appreciate that. I think the lines are getting grayer and grayer
right,
and grayer, especially with technology. So I think we're all learning how to navigate this. And I think at the end of the day, we all want to be respected. I mean, faculty and students want to be respected, and nobody wants to be labeled as a cheater or to think
right,
that, or they don't want their faculty member to think they tried to bypass what the faculty member is doing to try and help them learn. I think in a lot of ways that bond can be improved and that communication, those lines open. And we all learn from this too. Even us as teachers, we learn maybe where we need to improve in the classroom based on what the students are doing. And I also always remind students too that the grade is important. Okay, that's fine. The grade is there. The learning is most important.
right.
And our recommendations really supersede grades. And so
Absolutely.
if I see a student really working hard and I know that student is honest, that's going to go a long way when it comes to letters of recommendation. And I think that's something that I hope they see that longer, bigger picture.
Any final thoughts on how technology has influenced the nuances of cheating?
I do have a few. One that I really was going to mention a little earlier, it's about tutors, online tutors, and getting
Yes,
assistance. And when we develop our classes, we hopefully, as faculty, we try and be comprehensive. We try and put ourselves in the student's shoes to provide all the resources that the student needs. But I think oftentimes the students, they've been growing up with this technology. They know, oh, let's go to Google or
right.
LinkedIn and Twitter. I found a lot of ways where students will get tutors. And I think the term tutor, I've learned, I don't know if it's evolved over time or if I've just been out of the loop on this, but sometimes I'll see situations where a student might hire a tutor and the tutor maybe emailed all the problems, may build an Excel spreadsheet, send
Right.
it back to the student, and the student may look at it and say, okay, yeah, I understand this. This makes sense. Good. I got it. I'll put my name on it. And maybe not realize that they didn't go through that learning process. Again, that's what we're looking at. And so I think when you're using technology to get outside help, I would always go to your professor first, because the professor, first of all, will become better faculty. Become better teachers, because we'll be able to identify where we may not be conveying or teaching properly. We have to add a different approach to our teaching style to meet your needs. So having those open lines of communication is so important. But also the schools, we have our own resources, we have our own tutors, and so I would always go there first. But it's also that idea of becoming transparent. Think of your faculty member as a team with you, and being very transparent and open in your lines of communication. Because again, it really comes down to us wanting to help you learn and try to
Right.
guide you through your educational journey. So have that communication, be open. As much as I love quantitative analysis, math, the courses I teach, business analytics, project management, I love those tools, but I'll still always say that in my experiences, a project most likely has not been successful or possibly failed, not because of a calculation error. It's more because there wasn't that communication and there wasn't that teamwork. So students, I'll highly just suggest that you consider us part of your team and be open. And when you do have any issues, come to us. If you're going to use an outside resource, maybe check it with us first, because if there is an issue, we'll be able to identify that ahead of time and steer you in the right direction. That phrase, it's something like an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So
Right.
it's better to be on top of that and consider us part of your team.
Thank you very much for sharing all of your valuable advice. This will certainly help the students avoid any possible cheating, and just give us a more robust understanding of how technology influences all the nuances of cheating. And there's so much more to say on this. So thank you for joining us. Please remember to hit like and subscribe, and remember to keep learning.